So it's Ravens Steelers week, baby. Whoever wins this game heads into first place in the AFC North, and the juices are flowing. Mike Tomlin just let it rip on former Pittsburgh Steeler and newly added Baltimore Raven Deontay Johnson, who was traded from the Carolina Panthers to the Baltimore Ravens before the trade deadline. We also had Mike Tomlin talking about Lamar Jackson. He took exception to the comparisons between Lamar Jackson and other quarterbacks here in the NFL.
Man, be real slow comparing people to Lamar Jackson. That's a multi-time MVP. That's Mr. Jackson. We'll see Mr. Jackson in a few days.
Plus a big update on stud edge rusher Alex Highsmith, who will not be playing in this matchup. We also got some important updates on playing time for Keaton Mitchell and newly acquired cornerback from the Rams, Tre'Davious White, in this upcoming matchup and much more. So welcome in to another episode of Ravens Reports, man. It's your guy Noah here with For the Flock. As always, bringing you guys our top 5 news reports and storylines coming out of our Baltimore Ravens today. At number 1, let's dive right into the content. Here's what Mike Tomlin had to say on newly acquired wide receiver Deontay Johnson.
To be honest with you, I hadn't thought a lot about it. He's not on a lot of their video, and so, at this stage of the week, I don't know that I've weighed what he might mean to the matchup. They got more significant pieces with larger roles that are occupying my attention at this part of the week.
Obviously, Deontay Johnson was a huge part of the Steelers' offense for several years, and he was, spent half a season with the Carolina Panthers, had a pretty nice half season with the Panthers there, 3 games over 70 yards, and then 3 touchdowns. Since he's been traded to Baltimore, though, he hasn't seen a lot of playing time because he hasn't had a lot of practice time. We had a short week last week against the Cincinnati Bengals, but John Harbaugh said he expects his playing time to ramp up. Here's what John Harbaugh had to say.
A little more in terms of his workload, like what you expect it to be throughout the rest of the season?
Absolutely. See, same kind of conversation, and he's been here now for somewhat of a number of practices. I mean, last week we only had 1 practice. That was really where he got a chance to move around, but I would expect that to ramp up, yes.
So Deontay Johnson, no longer a Pittsburgh Steeler, obviously now a Baltimore Raven, in the first Ravens-Steelers matchup we have of the year. The Steelers, keep in mind, are at 7-2, but they have not played any divisional games. They have to play Baltimore twice, Cincinnati twice, and the Cleveland Browns twice. And their schedule is not easy heading down the line here. So it's interesting to hear Mike Tomlin say, haven't thought a lot about him. We'll see if there's a little bit of Deontay Johnson sprinkled into this game plan to maybe make Mike Tomlin think about him just a little bit more. While we're on that note, Mike Tomlin talking about the Baltimore Ravens, here's what he had to say on Lamar Jackson whenever they, the media try to compare him to rookie quarterback who they just played in Jane Daniels.
Man, be real slow comparing people to Lamar Jackson. That's a multi-time MVP. That's Mr. Jackson. We'll see Mr. Jackson in a few days.
Mike Tomlin says, hey, you're talking about a 2-time MVP. To be quite frank, he's about to be a 3-time MVP. Lamar Jackson's on a different level. If you guys look back at the history between Lamar Jackson and these Pittsburgh Steelers, Lamar Jackson actually has the lowest passer rating against the Pittsburgh Steelers than he does compared to any team in the NFL. They've not had a lot of success versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. The defense has gotten after Lamar Jackson, specifically TJ Watt. They've been able to create turnovers. However, last season in this Todd Monken offense, there was a game where Lamar Jackson probably would have thrown for nearly 400 yards and 4 touchdowns if the receivers simply caught the ball. You guys can see, a few of the clips here of the receivers just dropping wide open passes. And then we had that Justice Hill fumble but John Harbaugh says, hey, we're not looking at the past. Quite frankly, they've played well against us and we just haven't on offense. We haven't played well against them, but I believe that's about to change here. The Steelers are a very complete football team, offense, defense, and special teams. They're all, top half of the league in all of those categories right now. However, they have not played an offense like the Baltimore Ravens this year. They haven't played Lamar Jackson. They have not played Derrick Henry. Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, Bateman, and Deontay Johnson. Now Keaton Mitchell being added to the mix. And speaking of that, at number 2, let's talk about what John Harbaugh had to say about Keaton Mitchell being added into the mix. He said he foresees a 3-headed monster at the running back position and that Keaton Mitchell will be continuing to return punts and kicks because, quite frankly, you just want the football in his hands. You want to get the football in his hands any way possible. And the breakaway speed that he has, he's an absolute dangerous weapon back there, to have returning kicks and punts. But he also says he foresees him getting some more snaps on offense here soon. Same thing for wide receiver Deontay Johnson. John Harbaugh says he does foresee his snaps here, being ramped up here pretty soon. And then the same thing on cornerback Tre'Davious White. He said, hey, we traded for this guy for a reason, and we are looking forward to seeing him have snaps immediately in the rotation at outside cornerback. It's also reported just a few minutes ago that Tre'Davious White is at Ravens practice wearing number 25. So look out for Tre'Davious White in this game versus the Pittsburgh Steelers.
How do you see him fitting in, and what do you like about what he brings?
Yeah, just first of all, high-level human being, great guy. Everybody that's been around him says that. High-level competitor, tough guy, willing to get out there and play hard like we like. So we respect that about him. We expect him to get in there and start taking snaps in the rotation, and at corner. So that's why we traded for him. So we're looking forward to it, and I know he's excited.
At number 3, let's talk about a couple of updates for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Alex Highsmith, their stud outside linebacker, edge rusher, he's, a top 10, 20 type of pass rusher and pass rush win rate and, just wreaking havoc. He doesn't always get all the sack totals, but he's very, very disruptive and is a great complement opposite of TJ Watt, who Hall of Fame edge rusher. TJ Watt, the Ravens are going to have to deal with, but on the other side, Alex Smith, they will not have to deal with. He had a very bad ankle sprain in the game versus the Washington Commanders and will not be playing. However, the Steelers have some depth at that position with guys like Nick Herberg coming on pretty strong, and they just traded for former Packers edge rusher and Preston Smith. So Preston Smith, Cam Hayward, and TJ Watt are still plenty of problems to deal with, when it comes to this pass rush. The Ravens offensive line has been much improved. Really, since week 4 or 5, the Ravens offensive line is starting to have more continuity. But, it's also worth mentioning that the Pittsburgh Steelers can't always just pin their ears back when they have to deal with the quarterback designed run game and the RPO stuff with Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry coming downhill is something that is going to add another level of physicality to this matchup. Another juicy storyline here at number 4 is Patrick Queen. Remember, he was signed by the Pittsburgh Steelers in the offseason. There was so much talk and speculation like, how Patrick Queen, bro, of all teams, we understand you wanted to get paid, but why by Pittsburgh? But he, was very adamant in the offseason that everything is better in Pittsburgh. The food, the fans. He went on and on about how much he loves Pittsburgh and how it's better than Baltimore. And I think the juices are going to be flowing for this matchup upcoming. We got, some former guys on both sides. So remember Chris Wormley. He was a former Raven, then was traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now he's back on the Ravens. We got Deontay Johnson, who started his career in Pittsburgh, had 1,100 yards one season with Pittsburgh, a very good receiver. That's made a lot of plays versus the Ravens. Now he's on the Ravens side. And then you also got, first-round draft pick Patrick Queen, who was drafted by the Ravens, is now on the Steelers side. So plenty of fun storylines here. At number 5, we got some updates. The Baltimore Ravens are currently practicing, and it's reported that safety Kyle Hamilton is not present at practice. Obviously, that's a big factor in this matchup. In my opinion, he's the best player on defense on the Baltimore Ravens. Kyle Hamilton went out with an ankle injury. He was able to walk off on his own strength, but John Harbaugh said it's early in the week. We'll see how it looks on Wednesday. We also had tight end Isaiah Likely, who missed last week with a hamstring injury that's still not practicing. And then wide receiver Devontae Walker was not seen at practice. And then defensive end Brent Urban has returned from concussion protocol, but was wearing a Guardian cap. So looks like we could get Brent Urban a little bit of a boost to the defensive line back in the lineup. Travis Jones was also healthy and had a high snap percentage last week against the Bengals and was very disruptive. So I think we're going to be able to get some pressure on Russell Wilson with Travis Jones and Matabike having strong games last week. And then, Dafe Owe and Kyle Van Noy, both top 20 right now in the NFL in pass rush win rate. Getting pressure on Russell Wilson is paramount in this game. I feel that way because the Steelers have a very good rush offense and the Ravens have a very good run defense. And the Steelers a lot of times rely on that run game, but I think the Ravens, they got the guys to be able to shut that run game down, which is going to make Pittsburgh rely on the passing game and throw the football downfield to guys like Pickens and Mike Williams, Calvin Austin, Pat Freiermuth, and the Ravens got to be up for the challenge and get after the quarterback to walk away with a win in this game and take sole first place of the AFC North, man. So let me know what you guys think about it in the comments section below. As always, man, hit the like button if you got any value out of today's content, man. I love you guys. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.
When he wasn't looking, he ran me over.